To simplify a radical, we want to keep it as an exact answer and not just use our calculator and get a decimal approximation. For a square root, we look at the perfect squares, and to do that, you're just taking a number raised to the 2 power. So 2 squared, 3 squared, and you're generating your perfect squares, 5 squared, 6 squared, I mean, you can keep on going, 7 squared, and so on. What you're doing is you're going to see, first, is there a number times itself that gives you back 45, and in this case, no. So then you look to see what's the biggest number on this list that will divide evenly into the number 45. So for that, we look at, 36 doesn't, 25 doesn't, 16 doesn't, but 9 will. So we split the radical up into 9 times 5. Because it's multiplication in between, we can go ahead and break the radical up and reduce each one individually. So square root of 9, because it's a perfect square, is just the number 3. The square root of 5, we don't know what it is off the top of our head, so we just leave it as the square root of 5, and that's your final answer. For the square root of 75, same idea. It's not a perfect square. It's not on this list. So we look for a number that is on this list that will divide evenly into the number 75. In other words, no remainder. So 25 times 3. Break it up and then go ahead and reduce. The first number, because you picked it as a perfect square, should come out of should be not under a radical when you simplify it. So square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 3 left under the radical. For 108, again, using your calculator, just try it. 108 divide by, 108 divide by, pick 49. Nope, didn't work. 108 divide by 36. Yep, 3. So this is the square root of 36 times 3. Break up the radical and then simplify it down. The idea is similar for cube roots. If you see that it's a cube root, you're looking for the biggest perfect cube that will divide into the number under the radical. So to generate your perfect cube list, you're taking 2 to the third, 3 to the third, 4 to the third, and so on. So the biggest cube on this list, and we look back at these numbers here, that will divide evenly into the number 40 is 8. So the cube root of 8 times 5. Cube root of 8, cube root of 5. Cube root of 8 is 2 times the cube root of 5. And that would be your final answer. Cube root of 250. So again, you're looking for the biggest perfect cube on this list that'll divide into 250 evenly. So it's looking like 125 times 2. Cube root of 125 times the cube root of 2, and the cube root of 125 is 5. For the last one, 432 looks pretty big, but again, use your calculator if you're not sure what you're doing here. 432 divided by, and then just start big, 216. And it worked. So 216, cube root of 216 times 2. Cube root of 216 times cube root of 2, and then the cube root of 216. 216 was a perfect cube, so that answer is just 6, cube root of 2. While we're here, and I did this one in class as well, we took a problem like a to the negative 5 halves. And we wanted to completely simplify it and rationalize the denominator. So a to the negative 5 halves, we want to get rid of the negative exponent first. Then I'm going to rewrite it as a radical. To get the radical out of the denominator, or rationalize it, you multiply top and bottom by whatever that radical is. So times the square root of a to the fifth, top and bottom. So on top I have the square root of a to the fifth over, and anytime you multiply a radical times itself, the radical part, the square and the square root, cancel because you're squaring that in essence. This is really what it is, the square root of a to the fifth squared, taken twice. The square and the square root cancel, and I'm left with the square root of a to the fifth over a to the fifth. This, however, can be simplified even further. This can be broke up into the square root of a to the fourth times a to the 1. Square root of a to the fourth, you can simplify. That's just going to be a to the 4 over 2. And then reduce. So we've got a squared, square root a, divided by a to the fifth. These can cancel. Right, you've got 2 a's on top, 5 on the bottom. So all 2 of these are going to cancel with 2 on the bottom, and I'm left with square root of a divided by a cubed.